So here are the top things of the week. I'm going to go through these quick and talk about other things that came up since I put this together on Friday. Let's just see. So number one, the most clicked on thing on news.js.pro. Ty Roach, he is the author of Checklist Pro. He has a couple things on the store. What he has is really remarkable, and the story he tells on his blog about what he does is pretty fantastic. He added customizable checklist items that are now hideable and read only. So think about like set display none or set required to true in the client scripts or UI, that kind of thing. So he's constantly adding that stuff. I can't wait to see where it goes. If you're interested in his story and these things, seriously, you should look him up on LinkedIn. Next up, we got Callan Bond, a ServiceNow employee, posted the top CMDB features from 2022 on the ServiceNow community site. But in this list, the thing that stood out to me most was the intelligent search using natural language to query. And the reason it stood out to me most is because of this AI stuff I've been doing now. Because converting natural language speech to a query is complicated. But if any of these things stand out to you, I'd highly recommend checking the link that I'm going to post afterwards to this guy's post. Because he goes into more details about it. He just kind of took the high level stuff. And this guy, I don't know who this guy is. This AJ Siegel. He wrote this post about good form design. There isn't enough of this discussion. As somebody who's been a developer on this tool forever, everybody wants their form to ask all of the questions all of the time. And I've constantly asked, why do we need this data? Does it drive the process? What is it used for after the fact? To try to weed out questions that aren't necessary. I feel like I have to highlight this because it's huge. You want to design forms to reflect what the user is doing. Imagine if Google, instead of having their one search box, they had like, I don't know, categories and other things. Like people just don't always think that way. So you want to design the thing for the people that are going to use it. And you need to have a clear understanding of what you need to collect. So if you need to know who is submitting the form, you got to make sure they're logged in. But you know who they are because they're already logged in. You got to know what their personas are. If they're like an admin or a developer, if they're just a regular employee with no access, like maybe they need to request a new badge. You want to make sure that you're asking the questions that they're going to know how to answer. And then you need to know what the process is behind that form. If you don't know what the process is, you're not going to be able to fulfill that need. And he talks about these four principles from this book that he mentions about minimizing the pain of the form, illuminating the path to completion, like, kind of leave breadcrumbs to where they're going to go next. And consider the context and ensure consistent communication. I just think this isn't talked about enough. I just think that there's so many bad forms in the ServiceNow space that it requires highlighting. Maik, who I thought was pronounced Maik, uh, Maik here, he put a post up that literally will save companies money using some business rules. Now, I haven't set these up anywhere, but I looked at them and like, oh my gosh, like some of these you can already just see the cost savings by just their names. Prevent direct assignments of licensable roles. I don't know about you, but service counts are a huge problem with this kind of stuff. If you're like on a weekend and somebody needs something and the company works by the seat of the pants, you might just give them a role, and who knows? That's going to cost you your monthly cost per user per month for that role, probably, or whatever your licensing schema might be. See your rep because it's hard to talk about licensing. But that first rule alone will save money. Capture the node of the name of the node the user is logged into. This might not seem like a big deal until you get a call that something isn't working fast or isn't working well, and then you need to find node logs for that transaction. Good luck. It's near impossible. So the fact that I saw this was amazing. This prevent adding artifacts to update sets, which is not in progress state, and force creation of personal artifacts in global scope. I'm not familiar with that stuff, but if it's like the other two, I'm sure it's fantastic. Thanks, Mike. Justin Meadows, if you don't know who he is, he's a machine. He makes content like a machine all the time, and it's fantastic. He made a video about this dark mode in the Utah release. Dark mode isn't new in Utah, but they've changed it, they've improved it. So, if you want to be entertained by a video, not this one, I would recommend his YouTube channel. Again, like I said, I'll be reposting this with links. So, if people who don't want to watch this video, they can just do the regular thing. Ashley Snyder. She's an employee of ServiceNow, but she's fantastic. She's been working on the next experience for quite some time. I didn't see these changes in release notes, but I'm sure that they're there. She highlights these next experience things. I'm just going to talk about the four that I think she highlighted briefly. And it's kind of hard to see. In the bottom left, you have nested favorites. So instead of just having a single list of favorites, you can then have, I don't know, like core component, like core things in ServiceNow. Maybe you have business rules, script includes, client scripts, catalog items. Maybe one another folder like administration where you have like users and groups and access controls or something. But this lets you let those groups exist. So that's fantastic. The search now, I guess, searches your favorites and kind of shows those nested results. That's the second thing that kind of was highlighted. The theme builder, which I haven't done much with this next experience, but anything to make those themes easier is probably going to be great. And then what the last screenshot is of the virtual task boards dark mode. So I'm guessing they've enhanced the next experience to include task boards, or this is more telling about the dark mode updates. Techno Monk, aka Amit uh, G, I'm not going to try that last name, has some video about showing two columns and reference fields, which got a bunch of clicks. It's not out yet. It doesn't happen until March 6th. So I guess if you're curious, check it out. He's also putting out a bunch of content like Justin Meadows. There is this Conversational Interfaces Academy that posts stuff. They have things that come out every week, it seems, or every 2 weeks. So Victor Chen and Sarah Dawson here led this session. I don't really have much more to say on it, but it's talking about building topics with human conversational design principles. I skimmed the video, and it does have some good stuff in it, if I'm recall. I don't know if I have notes on it in front of me, but uh, yeah, it's a standard like ServiceNow presentation style video, if I recall. Hardit Singh made a post about everything about tags in ServiceNow. Tags is a highly unused feature. Way back in the day, like 2007 day, they were called labels. And there is a table called the label table, which does not, in fact, label tables. It's a way to make automated tags for records. But tags are really powerful. They're kind of complicated in how ServiceNow is set up, but they have to be because they can't be on the record themselves. I skimmed his video and it seemed like it did a great job of explaining them. So if you're curious about that again as well, feel free to speak up. If any of you guys have any comments about this, feel free to write it in the notes. Shay says, honestly, I never really used tags, and that's probably because at first there wasn't much value, and it was just for you as an individual. Yeah, Shay, now tags can be made for you, they can be made for groups. Tags, because they were initially set up to be added automatically, like most recent and something else. There's a system in the back that will automatically tag records based on conditions. But what's really powerful about tags is they can avoid making you customize your instance. Like, say a group wants a field on like incident to track, I don't know, this impacts XYZ division at Acme. And that division is in no way related to the assignment group or the caller. Like, you could then tag it with those things. That tag would be visible only to the appropriate group because the person who makes the tag owns the tag, and you can report on it. Now, there's some reporting caveats, like some things don't always work the way you want them to, but for the most part, it works pretty slick. And ServiceNow has broken tags less than they've broken order guides. So I would trust that tags would work more often than order guides would with upgrades and that stuff. And I think this is the last one. Mary Scotton had a post. Has some posts that are they're entertaining to read, but I really wanted to take this time to like take a note about where people like her are in this ecosystem and what they're promoting and what we can do about that stuff. Mary Scott wrote this post about next steps and career paths, about what to do. And I think it's really important that we're really honest about how we can support people who don't work on ServiceNow if we want to get them working on the tool. And as much as I want to say like this boot camp will guarantee you a job, it they don't. Like I've heard success and failure stories from both the ServiceNow boot camps and from other boot camps. It's really come down to the individual. You have to have drive to do stuff. If you're not willing to do the things, it's like to put yourself out there and make the effort. It's gonna be hard to get help to get those positions. I know I'm skewed in this because I've been in this ecosystem forever, over a decade. So I don't have that same experience that new folks have. But I'd like to think if you could present like a reasonable, here's the things I've made, here's a value I've added. Hire me on as a junior, I'll be great. Um, I'd like to think that that's enough. But I guess I'll have to defer to the folks who are more on the recruiting side, like the Fedorics and the hiring managers and CEOs of other companies. That being said, if you're a person doing that stuff, like Mary, like Callie, like anybody promoting these new individuals, like that's fantastic. And we should continue to lift those folks up. And that's what I have to say about that. Like that's I think this type of content is also really important, but it's so hard to have an opinion that's going to be 100% right. I have a post in the works about boot camps and learning places and companies that have training, but it's not in a place where I can post it yet because I need to get facts. Oh, there's Callie in the chat. Hey Callie, you've inspired me. I'm trying something new. So live on LinkedIn, recorded for YouTube. We'll see if this sticks. Um, I wanted to bring up something that came to my attention on Saturday, which isn't in this slide. It wasn't most clicked anywhere. And to do it, I have to go somewhere else. There is this thing that Andrew Pishin's been working on. I don't know what it is and how it works. I'm not going to play it here for you, but I want to show it. What the? Yeah, okay. This is right. So, if you're familiar with React and newer frameworks, you'll know that ServiceNow doesn't support these things. Like they have their own version of React that they use on the new now CLIs. They support Angular, asterisks, right? 1.5.3. But the rest of these things, Vue, Svelte, Ember, Solid, like they're just nothing. This is from the State of JavaScript 2022 survey. And I think this is like the retention, interest, usage of these different frameworks. The people building with these frameworks is much larger than the ServiceNow ecosystem of developers. And Andrew has always posted really amazing things when it comes to this. If I jump ahead, yeah, in here, looks like he made an interface. You can pick the environment. So he's typing in hello world, but he's going to show here, like you can say React, React TypeScript, Vue, Svelte, lit web components, and plain JavaScript, right? So like if you have a front end developer that's not worked on ServiceNow and they want to take a stab at something and make something look amazing, like this would be, if this is a thing, this could be amazing. Because the current path to make these types of things today is painful. Like takes days to set up, and getting it to work properly, I think, is difficult on a local machine. That's the now CLI next experience stuff. But in here, this builds, you tell it to build the project, it'll bootstrap it, and it literally somehow makes the files in your instance in a way that can be captured appropriately, like a regular web developer would see, which is amazing. I can't wait to see what this becomes. If it's a store app or whatnot, like I really hope that this takes off and either it's reasonable or ServiceNow acquires it or does something with it. But this could be a huge game changer. I know this is all like pro code stuff, but if you're expanding your code base to allow for folks who don't know ServiceNow to build on ServiceNow, that's going to be huge. That was all I had. So I'm going to go back to the chat here, make sure I didn't miss any questions. Callie says Bootcamps and she has opinions. I would love to hear them sometime. Frank, I'm glad that you're appreciating the great info. Shay, it's hard to work with new folks. I've been on a few projects lately with limited talent pool, and we all have to remember that folks need an opportunity to learn and grow. As practitioners, we need to remind ourselves that folks need a chance. Let's give them a chance and help them. I totally agree. That is a fantastic sentiment, and I think we could all learn something from that text you're putting out there, Shay. Well, now that I've got this recorded and put out there, I'm gonna save it locally and then I'll do something with it next week. I guess I'll see you guys later. And that's all I got. See you next week.